Right, so welcome again to another edition of the Influencer Marketing Roundtable. And just before I talk about our subject today, which is all about measuring influence, just really wanted to give you a little bit of a background as to who I am. So I'm an influencer marketing specialist. I host my own podcast. Now we are in our fourth season. Seems like ages since I started this now, but I interview some amazing guests from all around the world, whether they be influencers, agencies, brands, influencer marketing platforms, anybody that potentially has a story to tell when it regards to influencing their audience. I also published my first book called Influencer Marketing Strategy in March this year, and it's packed full of loads and loads of tips and ideas about how to create, develop, and influence a marketing strategy for yourself or indeed for your company. So some really, really great tips and tricks in there for you to have a look at. I'm also a keynote speaker and I run my own influencer marketing program, which actually is this. So this is all about helping somebody become more influential. And at the end of the day, let's be honest, what we want is we want to generate more revenue, charge higher prices, get more customers coming to them, and content consumed by a wider audience. So I do that in a five-step process. I'm not going to go through all of the detail of that, but suffice to say that if anybody's interested in finding out more about how I can help you with your own influence strategy, then do get in touch with me after this. Okay. So, how to measure influence? I thought I'd start really by more about what influencers can get for you. I think the first thing is trust. We trust the opinions of others more than we do traditional advertising, and particularly when we're talking about younger people, millennials and Gen Z. Can you believe it? They trust traditional advertising just to the tune of 1%, which is staggeringly low. And that's because we want we want to we want to check things out by talking to others. And of course, many of these influencers have got huge amounts of expertise in their niche. And that's why brands have realized that this is a fantastic way to work with experts. And by the way, when we talk about influencers, sometimes it's not just typically your social media influencers. It could be a speaker that's an influencer. It could be a technical expert that's an influencer. Be an academic. So don't think it's just about social media influencers. It's as much about thought leader, somebody that has the ability to change the behavior of others. Influencers can get you followers, and don't necessarily just be looking at huge amounts of followers. I mean, I often use the expression of a fly fishing expert, perhaps somebody that has maybe got 1,000 followers on Instagram and no more. But all of the people that are following that individual will see him or her at the lake, talking about what he does and how he does it. So in a way, if you were a fishing rod manufacturer, the chances of all of those followers being engaged and interested in your product range is very, very high. So the reason I say that is because micro and nano influencers are a very, very good way to grow your business, often through gifted campaigns and promotions, and often have a higher level of engagement to those that are what we call macro and larger scale, even celebrity influencers. Um, They'll also help you with the share of voice. In fact, I interviewed somebody on my podcast, a big whiskey brand actually, and they used their influencers from all around the world. And because of the content was so engaging, so different, it helped the brand get into new markets, new areas that they hadn't already planned uh, in their in their strategy and campaign. So they can help grow audiences in a way that you hadn't necessarily thought about. Um, One of the things I've loved as well, and we've seen this particularly with videos, is this authenticity, this this rawness of storytelling. And if you look at platforms like TikTok, which is absolutely exploded, it's the fastest and biggest growing app in the world in 3 years running now. And that's because people have been able to, it's not just about having fun, it's also about, engaging with the community. Because, I was talking to somebody just the other day, actually, that uh, an American lawyer has come on to TikTok and really, although it has an entertainment side to it, is there was important messages that he was trying to convey. And if you think about it, most of his other lawyer um, competitors, if you will, would be on, I don't know, LinkedIn or Twitter. So what he's been able to do is articulate his unique voice in a way that's different from his competitors. And he's, I know, picked up business, and he's got something like 4 million views. Um, Evergreen content. Well, if you think about advertising, you send an email out, and largely it's doesn't really get much engagement now. In fact, emails have found to be, people are overloaded with content more than ever. Trying to sell stuff on email just isn't delivering in the way that perhaps it once was. Whereas actually, if you create thought-provoking content, or an influencer can do this for you really, really well, um, those articles are going to stay online for a long, long while, and in particularly videos as well. It can be a very cost-effective advertising mechanism, particularly if you are gifting products or influencers, because largely all you're doing is paying the mailing cost. Now, admittedly, you can't guarantee that they're going to post this. If you imagine if you had 20 influencers, and even just half of them that had audiences of 20,000 or more, you think about the exposure to your product, impressions and impact you will have got from that. And it will have cost you just the gift and the cost of mailing. As you go higher up the follower numbers, some of these content creators will quite legitimately ask for money, as they should. But needless to say, it's still a very cost-effective way. And a lot of these influencers are multi-talented. So it's not just about they have the ability to grow audiences, but also they are digital natives in many instances. So they are photographers, videographers. They really understand their insights. They understand what type of content their audience wants. So leaving them to do that is super important, rather than telling them what you want them to do. Um, it's really important that you work with an influencer that is relevant to your brand. So if you were a cosmetic product, you want to make sure that you work perhaps with a beauty influencer rather than somebody that loves cars. So it's really important that you get. But this is why niche audiences are so popular with influencer marketing. Right. So moving forward, then, once upon a time in the early years of influencer marketing, it was literally all around um, creating brand awareness, i.e., the top of the funnel, impressions, reach, and engagement. But more latterly, we've seen a huge success in influencers being some of the best salespeople around. I mean, that's why Alibaba and Amazon last year were looking for 100,000 influencers for their platforms. And it's not unheard of, particularly in Asia, I might add, for some of these live stream influencers that have been, selling huge millions of pounds worth of product. In fact, there's actually a platform called Reward Style, where some of the luxury and fashion influencers are earning 50 to 60,000 pounds a month, can you believe? And they're earning that through affiliate marketing links. And the great thing about that is, for an organization, is that you're only paying them potentially a commission. So if they're earning that per month, think what they're generating in terms of sales for the brand. So one of the things that's really important with an influencer strategy is making sure that you have proper goals. Keeping them smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Um, And all this is trying to do is to make sure that you've got a purpose behind the program. And this is just some of the things that you might like to measure when you're running a campaign. The amount of comments, likes. The reason I put dislikes there is because that's also important. I often use the analogy of Piers Morgan, who is a hugely engaging individual, but of course he's got as many dissenters as he has fans. So it's important that you measure sentiment. People that are sharing videos is a very, very positive attribute, because it's, it's almost like the ultimate, because they feel so strongly, not just to like and comment, but if they want to share something, then great. Video views, important, and how, but more importantly, how long they're watching the videos. So, because if you're getting people watching the video for the whole time, it means the content is engaging. Stuff like downloads, app downloads, or how many people are signing up to come to an event. You can do all of this by creating separate codes, by the way. New subscribers to your channel, new followers that you've got as a result of working with influencers. You can run competitions, for example, that ensure that that's a part. They have to actually like and follow your Instagram, or your Facebook to enter the competition. Engagement rate. I mean, just to give you an example, average engagement rate on Instagram is about 1.7%, 1.6, 1.7%. So, anything that's around 3, 4, 5% is considerable. Consider, how that compares with sort of other advertising mechanisms. When done well, influencer marketing can create, can you believe, 11 times greater ROI than almost any other form of media. So anyway, cost per views, cost per engagement, all of these things are really, really important for you to measure. The best influencer marketing campaigns are those that have proper goals, proper measurement, but ultimately use the right influencers. So I'm going to stop sharing now and come back to have a little bit more of a Q&A with you guys. So, who currently is using any form of influencers or would see themselves as an influencer at the moment? Go on, Stephen. Then, yeah. So, what's your view?
Well, yeah, I mean, as mentioned in my introduction, so I believe I've been an influencer. I was thinking of some other things that I've done, and I think collaborations are often a way of being an influencer. So, for another example of what I did when I was in Russia, I'm also a DJ by hobby and semi-professional, if you like. But I came up with a great idea that we would we would help Ray-Ban. So we had a big group of stores. We were expanding throughout Russia, and Ray-Ban was a brand that's very well known in the West, but in a lot of parts of Russia, it was known in Moscow and St. Petersburg, but not in the smaller towns. So I came up with this great influencer idea that Ray-Ban gave us not a huge chunk of money, but $50,000. And I teamed up with a friend of mine who had a travel company, and they were actually working on setting up and bringing people from Russia to Ibiza. So it was ibiza.ru. And we did a tour of 13 cities around Russia where I DJ'd, and we got in touch with all the best clubs, and we went there and we used Ray-Ban as the promotional idea, and we basically had sent their images out, but we also had product that we would give away, some sunglasses at the events, t-shirts we had made and everything. And it was an amazing project because I got to see some amazing cities and was touring around as a special guest DJ. So I had a lot of fun with it, but Ray-Ban became very, very well known throughout areas of Russia where they would never heard of before, because of what we were doing, and because we were associating with the market that were, the target market, which was teenagers, 20-year-olds, people who were going night clubbing, and they were the sort of people who would, the older generation, especially in Russia, didn't really have the money and certainly weren't going to be buying into an American fashion brand, if you like. So we really sort of targeted really well, and it was a lot of fun to do. And a great idea, and as say, a collaboration. And of course, my company was very happy, the optical company, because we became very popular with Luxottica, who were the producers of Ray-Ban, and they gave us lots of beneficial terms. So everybody won.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And Daniel Wellington, of course, is another big eyewear brand that's literally created an entire organization based upon using influencer marketing. By what we talk about is user generated content. So it's getting people to take pictures and post them on their own Instagram and then tag the Daniel Wellington what do you call it, hashtag, and it was really popular. I thought they created a special hashtag for their their fans, and they created an ambassador program on the back of that. So it was really interesting to hear your story. It was similar as well.
And it was quite
Um,
early because it was in 2010, and we were going around, and we actually also had exactly that. So we had your frame that you could come and have your picture taken
okay, yeah,
and
of course.
post it on your social media site. So I was quite early at stepped into that sort of social media and seeing influencers on social media at quite an early stage, and used that quite a lot in some of the other marketing areas that I did in Russia.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jackie, what have you done any gift boxing? Because one of the things that's been a huge explosion has been the unboxing video. And what this has done is I mentioned a moment ago about storytelling.
Yes.
What's really great about some of these YouTubers or Instagrammers is when they receive a box from a brand and they can almost bring that product to life. They can excite the audience in such a way that really amazes me. When you go into a retail shop, for example, um, let's just take Marks and Spencer. Everything is flat laid. Yes, you can go into the changing room, but what I like about some of these, Instagram models, and so guys or girls, is they're bringing the product to life. They're giving you all of these lifestyle experiences of what those garments look like in a way that you just can't get in a retailer, can you? So,
Uh,
what's your thoughts about this?
we've got a company that we're working with that are growing so massively called Cinch, and we do thousands and thousands of welcome boxes now. We did a lot when universities were closed and they still wanted to engage with students. We've done a lot of sort of welcome packs, things that would normally be given out in tote bags when people would go along, but a lot of virtual tours and that kind of thing. So we have done a lot of merchandise gift boxes, but nobody the target audience has been either sort of students, or there's been nobody who's actually, to my knowledge, online to look at this great pack we've received from Oxford Brookes University. This is amazing. So yes, we've done a lot of gift boxes, but we've not reached that level where there's been anybody sort of endorsing it, goes, oh my, these are fantastic, and look at these great little gifts of, and some really fantastic, eco-friendly. A lot of thought has gone into the product that we've provided for them, but it's getting to that next level where somebody is endorsing it, I guess.
Absolutely. So, if you think about if they were sending that to a number of people, and it was part of an influencer campaign, and
Yes,
they
yeah,
were they were able to measure that. You think about the views of that video, you think about the impacts, and if that was linked to them, the brand actually getting increased engagement on their Instagram or
yeah.
as I was just saying, some measuring some of those metrics, it could be in a completely different
Absolutely. I mean, we're working with the people in procurement as opposed to, and less so with the people from marketing, that their input would be sort of signing off, how things look, and this is the direction we want to go into. But I'm not sure that they're picking up and marketing it to their students. Isn't? I don't know about their online presence. It sort of ends at the door when there we go. We've delivered all your goods, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But the reason I mention these things is these are some of the things that you could potentially bring into the conversation with a client and say, look, have you thought about engaging influencers in your program? And even if they hadn't, it's using, because obviously what they want to do is not have somebody just trial it, but talk about
Yeah,
it. Now, not everybody will talk about it, but it might be that some people talk about it. Um, I was talking to you about nano influencers just a moment ago. Now, these are people that have got um, from 1 to 10,000 followers. But a lot of brands are realizing now that it's not just about using influencers; it's actually working with their own consumers that love their products.
yeah,
Is that how can they create almost their own fan base of ambassadors, people that are going to want to promote their product or service. If you give something unconditionally, sometimes they will share it, but sometimes you have to tease them and say, look, if you'd like to share this on your social media, we will give you this, this, and this, or something. Because and a
yeah,
lot of people
yeah,
would say, yeah, sure, I'll do that. But it's just about
yeah,
getting the
yeah,
mindset and thought in place. But no, thank you for that, Jackie.
yes.
Emma, have you thought about, you were just talking, weren't you, in your introduction about potentially working with influencers? Um,
I think it's the way forward. It's interesting because we are on a current training program where, all the sales team are very much focusing on their LinkedIn social media profiles, engaging and growing the network. And, we've been told the relevance and importance of reach and, by obviously getting people to join your network, you're widening the reach. So by having an influence, I was always, because our is so technical based, I was always thought, right, I need to find an influencer who has got, a technical background. But now looking at how it's all moving, maybe that's not so much the case. It's a case of, those people might know people in the technical industry. So yeah, I do think it's the way forward. And it would be just a case of, sort of what sort of cost we would be looking at. And what do you think is a sort of an average time to get a good sort of response from it?
campaign.
Yeah,
Campaign. Well, it depends. I mean, what I will say is that, if you're doing an influencer campaign, for the first time and reaching out, sometimes people almost expect miracles to happen overnight,
yeah,
and they don't. I will tell you this: they don't. Can take a time. Also, if you want to get 20 influencers on board, you're probably going to need to speak to more, maybe even 35 or so, because some people will blow you out because they're not able to commit to it. Also, you need to be thinking about the most, what attracts influencers more than anything else, I won't lie, is money.
yeah,
Because they are, in many cases, not all, doing this for a business. And I often say a free dress doesn't pay the rent. But in terms of length of campaign, typically a month to 6 weeks is where you would start to see some results. What I think is important is you do need a certain number of them to push the needle. You do. If you're thinking, right, I'm going to use an influencer now, and you've got your hands crossed and you know hoping it's all going to move the needle massively, it might not. It might, but it might not. So you're dealing with people at the end of the day. What I think is important is for you to start to think about the type of influencers that you might like to work with,
yeah.
and then start to connect with them, not necessarily with a direct message. 65% of influencers do not respond to direct messages,
Okay,
right? And the reason they don't have that, because the brand that's doing that is not aligned with their values and their audience, or that they're either too busy or whatever. It's like anything. If you see them as an employee that you really want to work with, these are busy people. So what I suggest is this jab, jab, punch approach, which effectively is like, comment, ask.
Okay.
It's like the equivalent of you trying to build a relationship with somebody. You wouldn't go into a conference or an exhibition for the first time and say, "Oh, hello, my name's Emma. I'd like to work with you." You wouldn't say that, would you? You'd say, "Oh, hello, Emma. Hello,
Yeah.
my name is Gordon. Nice to see you here. Hope you're enjoying the conference." So you try and build a bit of a relationship up, and that is the key fundamentals of working with influencers, is trying to build a relationship in the same way that you would with a customer. Um, I think what might work really well for you, Emma, is to do some research, do a lot more, and maybe off call I can help you with some of that. There are great tools out there, influencer marketing platforms. In fact, there's a staggering 1,300 of them, because it's actually the research and the finding of influencers which is the biggest challenge of all.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to try something, you have to think about who is talking to the same audience as my target audience.
Yeah.
Um, who are the types of people that I could engage with? So there is a degree of social listening that you need to do. And again, there's great social listening tools that you can use hashtags to look at who's following what type of similar products. And then the other thing I would say, Emma, is good influencers know other good influencers.
Yeah.
So you could say that if you're working with one and you want to build out a greater network, it might mean that that person then says, well, actually, I know John, Bill, Fred, Emma, Bert, whatever. You know what I mean? So it could be that you have a conversation with them. And by the way, a lot of the content creators don't just like to be seen as amplifiers. There's a reason they use the word content creator. Is because they're able to articulate your brand message in video or post in a way that perhaps you haven't even thought around. So a lot of it's about collaboration and brainstorming. What are you trying to achieve for the brand? How about if we did this? I could do this for you, and all manner of different things. So it's actually quite an exciting environment because it's like having your own salesperson potentially for you, but has got their own audience, and it's about you trying to convey that message and giving and letting them loose with it, but in
Yeah.
a way that worked well. Is that helpful?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And John, just coming back to the sort of hospitality section, where do you see you potentially using influencers, or is it something that's very personal? Do you want to be the sort of go-to person?
Good question, Gordon. To be honest, I'm actually at a stage right now. So as I mentioned, we've got software for restaurants and hotels,
Yeah.
and we have the online platform tourism. Yeah. I'm at a standstill when it comes to my oldest business, which is the POS and the PMS, the software. I'm standing and I'm stuck, and I've got a million ideas bouncing around, transfer to paper, and I'm finding myself on a daily basis, literally making no progress. However, when it comes to Onvo, tourism, it's that much easier in my mind. And I wonder whether it's because it's tourism full stop, or if it's because it's a new business, and therefore it's I'm not so in the middle of it all, to be honest. Onvo, we've already started an affiliate marketing program using Post Affiliate Pro. We've done a lot of research through it. However, it's not working. So we're spending out money on a monthly basis and we're not getting anything from it. My only opinion is, we have a very small margin, the profit that we have in our vouchers. Therefore, that margin is passed on down the line, which is just not interested to the guys that are doing the work.
And
So
maybe,
that's how
and maybe so the other. I mean, I'm not suggesting that affiliate marketing, by the way, works in isolation. It doesn't. I mean, the reason why I mentioned it within the fashion and beauty area is because there's often a lot of margin in
yeah,
fashionable. It's particularly fashionable products, so they can
yeah,
afford to give that away.
yeah,
What sometimes can work is when you are asking influencers and content creators to just create the content and you
mm-mm,
use that on your own social platforms in a
yeah,
way that is inspiring and interesting. I mean, I was speaking to somebody the other day about Anchor
mm-hmm,
butter, Anchor butter.
yep, yep,
Well, I say, wouldn't it be great if we could create butter sculpture? Really amazing sculptures out of that. Now, that's an example of where you could use a content creator to
mm-hmm,
sculpture all of that product range. And they may only have a small audience because what they are is an amazing content creator, not necessarily
yeah,
an amplifier. But what you could do is effectively buy that content and use that on your social media posts as part
yeah,
of what you do. So you can see there are different ways to
yeah,
engage
yeah,
with these people. But yeah, the answer to where you said you were stuck and not really knowing what to do. There's a lot to be said, and when many of us are entrepreneurs, and it's we can get pulled from pillar to post so often. Um, I'm a great believer in going deep rather than wide. You know,
yeah, yeah,
so what that means is really, really be the go-to person in your niche.
mm-mm,
Yeah. So that
yeah,
when
yeah,
if for example, if you go to my LinkedIn, my Facebook, you go into my Instagram, everything says I'm an influencer marketing and membership specialist everywhere. Yeah.
yeah,
So even, I don't know if you guys know, but you can personalize your URL in LinkedIn. Do you know
yeah,
that? Do
Yeah.
you know
yeah,
that? Yeah. So that so when I go and post something on somebody else's comment, it will say Gordon Glenister, influencer marketing and membership expert. So what
mm-hmm,
I'm doing is I'm seeding that awareness of who I am and what I do. Yeah. And whether or not it's, the display queen, Emma, or whether or not it's the um Jackie, for example, do you know Jamie from Premier Print?
Yes.
Right. Now he's I don't know, do you know what he refers himself as?
No, no, I don't.
Right. So he refers to himself as the merchandise lover. Yeah. But
Okay.
what it is he says that everywhere, yeah. And sometimes it's about if you were to rename yourself or create your own catchphrase, what would it be? Yeah. And it needs to be something in 3 words or less.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you want people to remember you and what you do all of the time. So it's I always talk about a brand is what somebody says about you when you're not in the room. So if I was trying to sell all of you and introduce you to somebody else that I know and like, what would I say and how would I promote you? Yeah. So Jackie is an amazing merchandise specialist because Emma is an amazing display technologist because you see what I'm saying here is it's understanding what that key purpose and message is for you as individual brands, because you know what, we are all personal brands as well. Um, Berna, do you want a few more minutes left? Do you want to say anything about where you're at the moment? Any questions you want to ask?
Sorry. Yeah, actually, I just want to share about my takeaways about your discussion a while ago. Building relationship is essential for influencers, for the prospecting influencers, and um, what I do as I'm a social media manager, so I do some content planning, and then we always look for the audiences, for always on the detail, like um if you see all of the Instagram and all the social media platforms have also insights, you will see there, you will have, you can get your target audience. You will choose what you want to, what do you call this? You choose your audience. And if you, and also I love the, what you said, that good influencers attract good influencers. And I think that's one of the important things that we need to also to, you know, to apply on the content that we're doing, on the content that we share, especially on our on a platform that we're using. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Good. All right. Well, hopefully there's a few little insights there. It's really lovely to see you all. I hope you've, if you've got any other questions or talk at all, we're going to share this in the Influencer Marketing Secrets Facebook group. Do drop me a line. Anything else you want to say, or indeed come back next Wednesday, because we have another subject on influencer marketing. And I hope you have a lovely day.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Gordon. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Yes, and
Thank you
you.
for joining us.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.